I'm set. So let's go again. So from one very large Indian Ocean island, we are now going to whiz over the ocean to 115 much smaller Indian Ocean islands, because it's 115 islands that make up the Seychelles. So together they have a collective landmass of just 455 square kilometres, but they are scattered over 1.3 million square kilometres of Indian Ocean. Seychelles, of course, well known for its beautiful beaches, its rich underwater life, but it also boasts a captivating land flora and fauna. So there's more than 110 endemic species of plant, 75 endemic animal species, and just under half of the Seychelles' total area of land is given over to national parks and reserves. And species conservation is a really high priority here. There's numerous examples of successful reintroduction programs that we'll see, and I'll mention a few this evening. And there's plenty of interested bird watchers, numerous rare endemics that we can find. But really this tour also appeals to people that want 2 lovely weeks of good weather, lovely beaches and scenery, great all-round wildlife watching, some lovely snorkeling, plenty of delicious food. It's a real all-rounder, fairly gentle pace as Naturetrek trips go. There's no pressing urge to get up at the crack of dawn and we get back to our hotels in the late afternoon normally. It's not a dawn till dusk style tour. It is really very appealing for many reasons. And I had the unfortunate task of accompanying our group there a few years ago. So let me tell you more about it. I will kick off, I'll get my points back again, just getting bearings as usual. So here we were in Madagascar earlier, and now we're heading up here to the Seychelles, so smack in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And of these 115 islands, geologically, they have 2 distinct origins. So the inner islands, which are where the word Seychelles appears in this map and are shown in this inset map here, the inner islands are continental granitic remnants, whereas the outer islands, which some of them, some 1,000 kilometres afield, here-ish, they're coral atolls. So we fly to and from Mahe, which is the biggest of those inner islands, the granitic islands. And this is where we start and finish our tour. We spend 4 nights on Mahe, so we have 2 days at the start of the trip and 2 days at the end. We also spend 5 nights on Pralam, which is this island here. And from there, we visit lots of these other little islands that are scattered around it, many of which are uninhabited. And we also spend 3 nights on Bird Island, which is up here a bit further north. So let's start in Mahe. It is beautiful. And to me, if I was shipwrecked by pirates in the Indian Ocean and washed up onto a beach somewhere, this is where I'd find myself. It's got these beautiful white sand beaches surrounding a densely vegetated, rugged, mountainous interior. It's fab. So we spend 4 days here, as I say. It's plenty of time to explore the whole island. We'll do some easy birding, some gentle walks. We take an excursion to the Sentan Marine National Park on a glass-bottom boat, do some snorkeling. Again, interspersed with some excellent food, lots of Creole fish curries. In terms of accommodation, we stay in Beauvallon in the north of Mahe. As I know, it's very far and it's easy to explore the whole area, but it's a nice place to stay. The hotel we use is very comfortable. It's not a 5-star honeymooning destination like you might think of the Seychelles. It would be a waste of everyone's money because we spend our days out and about exploring, but it's a very comfortable place to put your head down at night, and it's got some really good food and beautiful beach. So this is the beach outside the hotel. So if you want to start and end your day with a swim in the warm Indian Ocean, then you can go nuts. And then during our 2 weeks in the Seychelles, we'll be enjoying all aspects of wildlife, and we'll be looking for many of the Seychelles endemics, some of which shown here. So there's some interesting plants, many birds, reptiles, of course, the very important Cebu beer as well. So in terms of some of those endemic birds, well, this is a handsome Seychelles blue pigeon. They're pretty common. We'll be seeing them quite a lot as we adventure around. And then this little chap is a zebra dove, also known as a barred ground dove. Again, they're really common, so we'll see plenty of them as we go. The Seychelles turtle dove is another endemic. You also find Madagascar turtle doves in Seychelles and various hybrids of the two. But there are places where we know we're looking at an authentic Seychelles turtle dove. So if you want it on your endemic stick list, then we know how to find it. My favourite of all the endemic plants, or could be second favourite, oh, tricky. Maybe joint favourite is this Nepenthes Seychelles pitcher plant. Useful, growing all over these bushes. So we'll go a nice gentle walk and we'll find this as we go along. It's called Nepenthes pervillii. So it's the only pitcher plant in the Seychelles, and it isn't endemic. We'll also spend some time around Victoria, the capital, and we'll be looking for lots of waders around here. So lots of egrets and herons, greater sandplovers, Pteric sandpiper, Pacific golden plover, lots of lovely things to find. But what we're really looking for here is crab plover. So they tend to return to Marhay somewhere around early to mid-September. And Naturetrek tours go to Seychelles somewhere around early to mid-September. It's like we planned it. So hopefully when we get there, our first 2 days in Marhay will coincide with being able to find all these beautiful, delicate plovers. But should the stars not quite align at the beginning of the tour, we have our 2 days back on Marhay at the end. So if they're not there by the start, they really should be there by the end. So we've got a really good chance of finding them as we go about our days. So from Marhay, we transfer over to Praslin. So as I said, we spend 5 nights here, and we tend to take the boat in one direction to get there, and then we fly back the other way. The boat trip's quite nice. It's not too long, pretty stable. So it's just quite a fun thing to do. Might see something exciting as we go past. And then we tend to fly back because then we go straight onto Bird Island. So logistically, it works quite well. And on Praslin, we're staying in this really nice family-run, pretty small hotel. Sometimes we'll be the only guests as we've taken over all the rooms. And it's got a good restaurant, nice pool, as you can see. This is important because this is the site for the Seychelles black parrot flyover. There's also lots of Seychelles swiftlets that will come, and in fact, some wonderful fruit bats that will fly over the hillsides here. But in particular, it's good to get yourself back from a lovely day's excursion, get changed, get your cosy on, slip into the pool, so hang around here somewhere. And up in these trees, there's often the Seychelles black parrots, so you can listen out for them and then get treated to a flyover at about 4:30 in the afternoon. So this Seychelles black parrot is one of 4 species in the Coracops genus. The others being the greater and lesser vasa parrots that you would find in Madagascar, and then the comorous black parrot. So this is the Seychelles black parrot. So in and around the pool area, we'll also see lots of these little Seychelles sunbirds. It's another endemic for you. And plenty of Madagascar foodies as well. In fact, I saw a lot more Madagascar foodies in Seychelles than I've ever seen in Madagascar. So lots of bright red flashes as you head around. But our reason for being on Praslin is primarily to be able to visit lots of the other islands in this area. So I'll just mention at this point that we do lots of boat trips. Really nice, great way of exploring. You do have to have a degree of mobility. So I've chosen quite an overcast day as well, actually, to take this photo. A word on the weather, in fact, as we're pausing here. Seychelles weather used to be super predictable. Depending on which way the trade winds were going, you knew what would be happening. But as has happened across most of the world now, weather is not predictable anymore. It's always going to be pretty lovely, lots of blue skies and sunshine, but it does get overcast sometimes, and there's the odd downpour as we had on this particular boat trip. But back to the boat trips. So yeah, a degree of mobility is useful, obviously, because you do need to be able to get in and out of the boats. On some of the uninhabited islands, then you'll be doing wet landing. So like here, you'd be wading out to the boat and climbing in aboard, and then the same on the reverse. There's always a guide, a tour leader, other people around to help, a stable hand to get you in, but you do need to be able to get yourself in and out of these boats. And it's obviously very beautiful. So this is on Ladi, one of the first islands that we'll visit, good sized little island. We head over there on the boat and we take this, what one of our guests termed the balcony on wheels, over to the Black Paradise Flycatcher Reserve. So this is a lovely female with its rufous back and tail feathers. And then we'll also be looking for this beautiful male with its long black tail streamers and that little bit of eyeliner under its eyes. Feels like a real privilege to be wandering around a reserve and finding these beautiful birds one morning. And as we go around some of these little islands, we'll start seeing our first Aldabra giant tortoises. By the mid-1800s, I think, yeah, mid-1800s, they were basically extinct on all the British Islands due to sailors eating them. So that then became extinct. However, there's a very large population of some 100,000 giant tortoises on the incredibly remote Aldabra Atoll. So this is some 1,000 kilometers from where we're based at the moment on this tour. And in the 1800s, they were never reached by sailors. So in more recent times, some of these tortoises have been translocated to various uninhabited islands on the inner islands, and new wild populations have become established. So we should start seeing some of them. And as I said, again, the main reason visiting numerous islands is that they all have a different endemic bird that we're going to hope to catch up with. So this is a Seychelles warbler, endemic, and this was taken on the little island of Kuzan, where a little population survives. Back in 1988, the only population of Seychelles warblers was found on Kuzan, but thanks to efforts from BirdLife International, there are now populations established on 3 different little islands. And you can see, obviously, they've got the rings here, so they're being carefully monitored to see how those populations are doing. Similarly, the Seychelles magpie robin is another example of a really successful reintroduction programme. Again, this little bird was seen on Kuzan, one of the islands that we'll visit. So for the Seychelles magpie robin, there had been confirmed records on numerous islands in the 1800s and in the early part of the 20th century. But from there on, there was a drastic population decline. So that was caused by habitat destruction, clearance for agricultural land, as well as the introduction of alien predators, in particular rats and cats. So by 1990, the total population of Seychelles magpie robins was down to about 20 individuals total. So it was classified as critically endangered, and a recovery programme was initiated by BirdLife International, funded by the RSPB. So they did predator eradication, supplementary feeding, they provided nest boxes, they restored habitat, they banned certain pesticides, and in addition, small numbers of birds were translocated to uninhabited islands. And that was after extremely careful predator eradication to establish new breeding populations. And again, this is another really successful reintroduction programme. So what you tend to see now is, particularly on Kuzan, is you'll see your Aldabra giant tortoise going along, dragging its belly, and then the little Seychelles magpie robins hop along behind, so that the tortoise is exposed to all of the bare earth, and that allows them to feed as they hop along behind. Very nice to watch. I haven't got a photo actually, but we happened to visit Sister Island, Gonser, Sister in English, on the trip that I co-led a few years ago, and we happened to coordinate our visit with the release of 47 endemic Seychelles white-eyes. So that was another reintroduction programme. We met the chap that had been masterminding it over the last few years, and it was incredible the amount of work that had gone into it, and really, making sure that it was rat-free. It was so important. He said if there's only one rat on the island at the point that you release those white-eyes, then they've got no chance. So anyway, they'd been brought over from 2 different islands, from Conception and North Island, just previously, and they'd been in their aviary sort of cages for a few days adjusting, and then the morning we got there, they'd just been released. So we had a lovely walk, and we're listening to all these Seychelles white-eyes twitching around. It was really quite magical. So as we're wandering around these little islands, we'll be passing lots of fluffy white-tailed tropic bird chicks. They're totally unbothered by your presence. They've got no predators there now, so you can literally walk past, I would say meters, but not even meters, centimeters off the path. There'll be little fluffy chicks just sat there looking cute at you, asking for you to take a photograph of them. And then besides the birds, there's loads to see really. So this is a Seychelles skink. We'll find lots of those. This is a day gecko, and most uninhabited, or most islands, sorry, in the Seychelles seem to have a day gecko named after them. So this is, not sure which, I think it might be a Ladigue day gecko. I've forgotten, I'll be honest. There's a Mahe day gecko, there's a Pralan day gecko, there's all these different day geckos. And whilst we're on Pralan, we'll spend a day there on the island itself, and we'll visit the Valley de Mai, which is home to 6 endemic palms, including the mighty Coco de Mer, which are these huge trees here, and they have the world's largest nut and the world's largest seed. which looks rather like a lady's bottom. These are amazing. They were completely enshrouded in mystery for years because they would just appear on distant shores and no one could work out where they came from, because they would try and grow something out of them and nothing would ever grow. And what had happened is that these ducks are seriously heavy, so they'd fall into the sea and they'd sink. But once the internal parts of the nut start to decay, they release gases, making them float. So eventually they'll wash up on a distant shore, for example, in the Maldives, many hundreds, thousands of kilometers away. But by this point, the nut's infertile, so it won't grow. So they could never work out where they came from. At the same time, some sailors would see them falling upwards from the sea when those gases were making them float. So the very sensible conclusion was they must be growing on underwater trees, hence the name coco de mer, of the sea. So after a lovely morning exploring the Valle de Mai, it's worth stopping on a beautiful beach, go for a swim, go for a snorkel. There's lots of lovely snorkeling opportunities on this tour. There's obviously nothing's compulsory. You don't have to snorkel, you don't have to be a swimmer or a snorkeler at all. But if you are, then there are lots of lovely opportunities. Some of them just going in from the beach like we would here. Sometimes going off the boats. If we're doing a day trip out on a boat, we might find a nice reef to stop in, and sometimes just popping your snorkel on after lunch, going for a little dip. And then from Farlan, we head north once again, and we go to the marvellous Bird Island for the grand finale. Well, actually, we carry on to Mahe, but for most, it is the highlight of the tour. So we stay here for 3 nights. And it is private island, private reserve, and private lodge, all rolled into one, and absolutely fantastic for birders. It is small. These are the huts. This is the runway, the airstrip. We'll come back to the Sooty Tern Reserve shortly. Lots of beach. This is the welcoming committee. Tortoise just waiting to meet you. This island is also home to Esmeralda, who's the oldest and heaviest tortoise known to be alive today. Esmeralda is a he. He was thought to be a she for a long time, but he is a he. So lovely Esmeralda. Accommodation is nice. It's pretty simple. It's very eco-friendly, so it's not air-conned. It's all designed to promote airflow. It's really comfortable, and all of it is just a stone's throw from marvellous beaches like this. Again, there's delightful snorkeling here, and this is my favourite snorkeling spot. You just go into the sea from here and be seeing big humphead parrotfish, octopus, lots of damselfish, butterflyfish, wrasse, all sorts. Pretty good chance of turtles. We go slightly ahead of the nesting season, but you might well see them swimming around, and we saw a few green turtles whilst we were out snorkeling here. Quite often you'll have a giant tortoise just wandering past your lodge as you go about your business there. If you return from snorkeling and start to wash off your gear at the back of your hut, your lodge, sometimes the tortoise will come along for a drink. And the birding is super easy here, so you can just be sat on your deck and hear a greater and lesser noddies just keeping you company. I actually started keeping a bird list of birds that were inside my lodge, not just on my veranda, but actually inside my lodge, and that got quite extensive in the end. They're really friendly. They're not worried about you at all. You can just wander past. You get really lovely close photo opportunities. So this obviously beautiful fairy tern, lots of them around. And we just spend the day, we go for an early morning bird walk, and we'll probably do an evening one as well. We'll snorkel in the heat of the day. You can go around on your own devices because it's so small. You can wander around the airstrip. It's just really straightforward, just a really civilized place to stay for a few days. The highlight though is got to be the Sooty Tern colony. So from May to October, there are 1.5 million terns here, about 700,000 pairs. In the trees around, we'll also find greater dress of frigate birds, boobies roosting here. So there's lots to see, but the Sooty Terns have got to be the highlight, and you can see all here feeding their chicks. Again, we've timed our trip here so that we're here towards the end, but there's still a lot of terns to look at. So we'll go here a few times during our stay on Bird Island, go in the morning, go in the evening, and just marvel. It's an amazing spectacle of this colony of Sooty Terns. And that's where we have to finish. So probably one of my favourite ever departure lounges was just standing here in the shade of the trees, watching some noddies and some terns and some frigate birds overhead, as we waited for our little plane to arrive and whisk us back to Marhay for a few more days before flying home. And that's where I'm going to finish.